Imagine this. A humble woman, dressed simply in a t-shirt and jeans, walks into a star-studded culinary masterclass and is instantly dismissed by the infamous chef Martha Coleman. But what Martha doesn't know is that this ordinary woman is about to turn the kitchen upside down. Emma Hayes, once a 10-time international culinary champion, has been hiding in plain sight. What happens next will leave you speechless as Emma steps up to the challenge, proving that true talent can't be judged by appearances. Stick around to watch how she shuts down the kitchen with nothing but skill and grace.
Can you imagine walking into a place where every eye judges you, where whispers and smirks follow your every step? That's exactly what happened to a humble woman who stepped into a glitzy San Francisco restaurant, her faded denim jacket drawing sneers from staff who were certain she didn't belong. Oh, how their mocking laughter echoed until her billionaire husband walked through the door, and their smug grins crumbled into shocked silence. What a mistake they'd made. Jessica Hayden, at 35, tugged at her well-worn denim jacket as she wandered through the bustling streets of San Francisco's financial district. Why bother with designer labels when comfort felt so much better? Despite her marriage to one of the city's richest financiers, with access to every luxury boutique imaginable, she stayed true to her roots. The sharp October breeze carried the briny scent of the bay, and she glanced at her watch 2 whole hours until Nicholas would join her. 5 years of marriage hadn't dulled her Midwest charm. Their anniversary tradition was as sweet as ever. She'd roam the city she'd come to adore, soaking in its sights, while Nicholas tied up some massive $1 million deal. Then they'd reunite for a romantic dinner at one of the famed Lumiere restaurants. How perfect was that? But this year, oh, it was different. Instead of their cozy spot with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge, Nicholas had picked Lumiere's newest gem right in downtown's heart, a place they'd never tried before. "Let's shake things up for our 5th, he'd said, with that boyish grin that still sent her heart racing. Jessica's mind drifted to the day they met. She was just a children's book illustrator, pouring her soul into stories at a tiny publishing house. When Nicholas strolled in to fund their literacy program, he wasn't dazzled by her lack of wealth, but captivated by her genuine spirit in a world full of opportunists. She'd been wary of his fortune, but his earnest curiosity about her art won her over. "I'm not here to flash my bank account," he'd said on their first date at a quaint coffee shop. "I want to know the woman who paints entire worlds with her brush." 5 years later, their lives were woven together. Yet Jessica stayed unapologetically herself. Her old Volvo still hummed along. Farmers markets were her shopping haven, and her comfy clothes, they were like a warm hug, keeping her grounded. She stopped outside Lumiere's dazzling glass exterior, her breath catching. The restaurant sprawled across the ground floor of a sleek skyscraper, its grandeur spilling through towering windows. Crystal chandeliers glittered, casting rainbow flecks across pristine white tablecloths. Staff in sharp black tuxedos floated between tables, silver trays gleaming in their hands. Jessica's fingers brushed the small gift box in her pocket, a vintage watch for Nicholas. Simple but oh so special, etched with the coordinates of their first meeting. Could a gift be more perfect? She took a shaky breath and pulled open the heavy glass door, arriving early to make sure their anniversary was flawless. But how could she have known that crossing that threshold would spark a night she'd never forget for all the wrong reasons? Inside, the hostess station was a vision of polished mahogany and soft lighting, crafted to awe. Behind it stood a blonde woman, her name tag reading Vanessa, her smile so perfect it seemed painted on. Though her eyes stayed cold, her gaze raked over Jessica's denim jacket, casual blouse, and barefaced look. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone dripping with doubt. Was this woman serious? I have a reservation, Jessica said calmly. Well, my husband does. Under Nicholas Morrison for 7-0. Vanessa's manicured fingers swiped across her tablet, her eyebrows shooting up when she found the name. That reservation's for 7. It's only 5. 15. I know I'm early. Thought I'd grab a drink at the bar while I wait. Vanessa's smile tightened, her eyes flicking to Jessica's outfit. The bar's for patrons with confirmed seating, she said, her voice sharp. Maybe you'd be more comfortable at the cafe down the street. We can call when your husband arrives. The way she sneered husband was like a slap. Did she think Jessica was lying? Jessica squared her shoulders, unshaken. I'm happy to wait here, thank you. Vanessa shot a look at a passing waiter, a tall guy with slicked back hair who raised his brows in a silent question. He sauntered over, adjusting his bow tie, his name tag reading Marcus. Problem, Vanessa? He asked, smirking. This woman claims she's meeting Nicholas Morrison at 7, Vanessa said, her tone mocking. Marcus sized Jessica up. Nicholas Morrison? The investment mogul? His voice was thick with skepticism. Yes, Jessica replied, steady as ever. Marcus's lips twitched, barely hiding his amusement. And you're his wife, he said, as if it were a joke. Jessica finished firmly. Yes. They exchanged another glance. Then Marcus waved toward a tiny table by the kitchen doors, the worst spot in the place. Perhaps Madam would like to wait here? We're quite busy preparing for dinner service. Busy? Really? Jessica followed him past rows of empty, impeccably set tables. The restaurant wouldn't open for another 45 minutes, yet staff bustled about, polishing glasses and arranging flowers. Several glanced her way, their faces flickering with curiosity or outright amusement. Can I get you something while you wait? Marcus asked as she sat, his tone dripping with condescension. Water, perhaps, as if she dare order anything else. A gin and tonic would be nice, Jessica said, her voice even. Of course, Marcus replied, a sly half-smile creeping across his face. I'll need a credit card for the tab. Jessica knew this game married to Nicholas. She'd seen the elite. The subtle insults of the wealthy world weren't new to her. This wasn't about her denim jacket. It was about belonging, about proving she didn't fit. She slid her black card across the table, without a word. Marcus's smug look faltered for a split second as he took the card. I'll be right back with your drink, he muttered, retreating. As he walked away, Jessica caught 3 staff members at the service station staring, their heads close, whispering. One laughed behind his hand, and the blonde server, her name tag reading Claire, grinned widely. Jessica knew those looks, those snickers. She'd endured them at charity galas and corporate events, only for the room to shift when Nicholas appeared at her side. And suddenly, everyone was all manners. She scanned the restaurant, its opulence almost overwhelming. Carved wooden panels framed museum-worthy art. Fresh orchids graced every table, and the glassware sparkled like diamonds under custom lights. This place was built to lift some up and crush others down. Was this really what wealth looked like? Jessica took a deep breath, steeling herself. The night was just starting, and Nicholas was still an hour and 45 minutes away. She straightened her denim jacket, bracing for what felt like an eternity of judgment. When her gin and tonic finally arrived 20 minutes later, lukewarm and pathetically weak Marcus set it down with a sneer. Compliments of the bar, he said, but Jessica had seen the bartender pour it and ignore it, letting it sit. Compliments? Hardly. Thank you, she said, sipping the sad drink and masking her grimace. Could I see a menu, please? Kitchen's closed until 6. Oh, Marcus shot back, and we're fully booked tonight. Your reservation's not till 7. Oh, By now, the staff's interest in her had turned into a cruel game. Claire and a young guy with copper hair kept circling her table. Finding excuses to pass by, Claire approached, her smile fake as ever. "Everything okay over here?" she asked, loud enough for her cronies to hear. Finding everything comfortable? Comfortable? Was she kidding? "Yes, thank you," Jessica replied. Ever polite, Claire's eyes flicked to Jessica's jacket. "We do have a coat check if you'd like to upgrade your appearance." The copper-haired waiter snickered, not even trying to hide it. Jessica's cheeks burned, but she kept her face steady. She'd faced worse than these cheap shots on her journey from a middle-class illustrator to a billionaire's wife. "I'm fine, thank you," she said coolly. As Claire walked off, Jessica overheard her mutter to her colleague, "Probably some gold digger who got lucky. Morrison could have at least bought her decent clothes." Gold digger? How dare they? The restaurant was buzzing now, filling up fast with San Francisco's elite, all decked out in sleek evening gowns and tailored suits that screamed wealth. Can you believe the nerve of some people? Several diners shot curious glances at Jessica, tucked away in her casual denim jacket at the worst table in the place. Right by the noisy kitchen doors, a woman in a Chanel suit leaned toward her companion, whispering something sharp, and both turned to gawk openly. How rude. Marcus, that smug waiter, slunk back to her table, hovering like he owned the place. "Are you sure you're in the right restaurant?" he asked, his voice dripping with condescension. "There's a casual bistro just down the block that might be more your speed." Jessica's patience was fraying, but she held her ground. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," she said, her voice firm. "My husband made this reservation himself." "Of course he did," Marcus replied, his exaggerated politeness practically a mockery. "And Mist, Morrison will be joining you soon, I'm sure." Was he serious with that tone? Jessica glanced at her watch, still a whole hour until Nicholas would arrive. The restaurant was getting louder, the hum of chatter and clinking glasses rising as patrons nibbled on fancy appetizers and sipped cocktails. She caught Vanessa, the hostess, escorting a middle-aged couple to a prime table by the window, the very spot Jessica knew was reserved for her and Nicholas at 7. Why were they acting like she didn't belong? Then a new server appeared, the tall African-American man who'd been chuckling at her earlier by the reception desk. His name tag read Darius, and he announced with a smirk, "I've been asked to take over your service," his amusement barely hidden. "Though I hear you're just waiting." "That's right," Jessica said, finishing the last of her watered-down drink. "I'd like another gin and tonic, please." "A proper one this time." Darius raised his eyebrows, clearly caught off guard. "A proper one, huh? Hendrick's gin, if you have it. 3 parts gin to 1 part tonic, cucumber garnish, not lime." Her precise order seemed to rattle him for a moment. Did he think she couldn't know her drinks? "I'll check with the bar," he said, turning away. But as he walked off, Jessica overheard him join a huddle of servers by the service station. They weren't even trying to be subtle now, staring at her like she was some sideshow. "She's ordering Hendrix like she owns the place," Darius scoffed, sparking a round of cruel laughter. "Did you see that jacket?" Claire chimed in, her voice cutting. "Bet she grabbed it from a thrift store. $10 says she's got the wrong night." "Morrison's not showing," Marcus added, grinning. Their cackles rang out, drawing every eye to Jessica's lonely table. A few patrons watched the drama unfold, some shifting uncomfortably, others smirking with the same snobbish glee as the staff. How could they be so heartless? The restaurant manager, a wiry man with salt and pepper hair and wire-rimmed glasses, approached the gaggle of servers, his voice low but urgent. He glanced at Jessica, his brow furrowing with a slight frown. then turned back to his staff. Jessica sat tall in her chair, refusing to let their mockery break her. She'd grown up in a small Minnesota town where people valued your heart, not your wardrobe. Nicholas loved that about her realness. In a world full of fakes, why couldn't these people see past her clothes? Her new drink arrived, and this time, it was perfect. Darius set it down with an over-the-top flourish. "Your Hendrick's gin and tonic, madam," he said, his tone mocking. "Anything else while you keep waiting?" "No, thank you," Jessica replied, cool as ever. As he walked off, she heard him mutter to Claire, "The Morrison reservation." Claire snorted, "Yeah, right. I'll believe it when I see it." Unbelievable. Jessica took a slow sip of her drink, the crisp cucumber cutting through the gin. But she felt the weight of every stare, every whisper, every stifled laugh, all because she didn't fit their mold of who belonged in this shrine to wealth and status. Little did they know, in less than an hour, their world was about to flip upside down. The restaurant was in full swing now, every table packed with San Francisco's high society. Talk of stock markets and real estate deals floated around, blending with the soft classical music humming overhead. Jessica stayed put at her corner table, still catching the occasional side-eye or whispered comment. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos of her and Nicholas from past anniversaries, 5 years of joy, adventures, and love frozen in time. Not one of those pictures showed her as the polished socialite these people expected. That's what Nicholas cherished most, her stubborn refusal to let his fortune change who she was. Wasn't that worth more than any designer dress? Her phone buzzed with a text from Nicholas. "Wrapping up now. Can't wait to see you. Happy anniversary, my love." Jessica's heart warmed, and she typed back, "I'm already here. Table by the kitchen. You can't miss me, I'm the one in the scandalous denim jacket." His reply pinged back instantly, "My rebel bride. See you soon." Oh, how she loved that man. As she slipped her phone away, the manager approached, his face a mix of fake concern and doubt. "Excuse me, miss," he said, hands clasped tightly. "I'm Edward Winters, the general manager. I understand you're waiting for someone." "Yes, my husband, Nicholas Morrison. He'll be here at 7, Jessica said, locking eyes with him. Edward's brows shot up. Nicholas Morrison of Morrison Financial Partners? His tone was pure disbelief. "The very same," she replied. He paused, studying her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve, clearly torn between her simple appearance and the staff's insistence she was a fraud. "I see," he said slowly. "Well, if you could provide some verification, we've had misunderstandings before." Verification? Was he kidding? Before Jessica could answer, an elderly couple nearby caught her attention. The woman, elegant in a navy dress adorned with a pearl necklace, gave her a kind, sympathetic smile. As Edward waited, the woman stood and approached. "Jessica? Jessica Hayden Morrison?" she asked, her voice warm and genuine. Jessica blinked, then recognition hit. "Mrs. Abernathy." "How wonderful to see you." Mrs. Abernathy chaired the Children's Literacy Foundation, where Jessica and Nicholas first met. She turned to the stunned manager. "Mr. Winters, do you know who this is? This is Jessica Morrison, one of our most generous donors. She and her husband, Nicholas, funded the new children's wing at the city library last year." Edward's face froze, his confidence crumbling. I wasn't aware," he stammered. "Jessica is incredibly talented," Mrs. Abernathy went on, her voice glowing with pride. "Her illustrations bring joy to thousands of kids. We're so lucky to have her in San Francisco." Jessica's heart swelled with gratitude for this unexpected champion. "Thank you, Mrs. Abernathy. How's the foundation doing? Thriving, dear, thanks to you and Nicholas. She fixed Edward with a pointed look. I trust you're taking excellent care of her. Edward nodded frantically. Absolutely, Mrs. Abernathy. We value all our guests. The older woman gave him a knowing glance before returning to her table. Edward's entire demeanor flipped. Mrs. Morrison, please accept my deepest apologies for any inconvenience. Would you like a better table while you wait? We have a lovely one by the window. This table's fine, thank you, Jessica said calmly. I wouldn't want to mess up your seating plans. Edward hesitated, clearly squirming. Of course. Please, let us know if you need anything. As he scurried off, Jessica noticed the service station had gone quiet, the staff watching with growing unease. Darius whispered something to Marcus, who shot her a wary glance. The clock read 6:40 p.m., just 20 minutes, until Nicholas's arrival. She could have called him to end their smugness right then, but something inside her wanted them to feel the full sting of their mistake. A new staff member approached, a young woman who hadn't joined the earlier mockery. She set down a small plate of appetizers, compliments of the chef. Mrs. Morrison, she said softly. I'm so sorry about earlier. Jessica thanked her, noticing how word of her identity was spreading. Some patrons now looked at her with recognition, not scorn, a few even seeming ashamed of their earlier stares. Across the room, Claire was getting an earful from Edward, her face red as she kept glancing Jessica's way. Marcus and Darius lingered nearby, their cocky smirks replaced by nervous fidgeting. Oh, how the tables were turning. Jessica sipped her drink, watching the restaurant's vibe shift like a tide. The change was already happening, and Nicholas hadn't even arrived yet. Mrs. Abernathy's words had cracked their snobby facade, but it was just the start. The glass doors swung open, heads turning. It wasn't Nicholas yet, but Jessica's wait was nearly over. The staff's reckoning was moments away, and no amount of polished apologies could erase what they'd done, what a lesson they were about to learn. Right at 7:00, the grand doors of Lumiere swung open, and in walked Nicholas Morrison, radiating a quiet confidence that needed no fanfare. Can you picture it? At 43, he was striking tall, broad-shouldered, his charcoal suit tailored to perfection, with just a hint of silver in his dark hair. Unlike the flashy tycoons of his world, Nicholas didn't flaunt his wealth, his only indulgence, the vintage watch Jessica gave him for their 3rd anniversary, a quiet nod to their love. Vanessa, the hostess, practically tripped over herself to greet him, her smile dialed up to blinding. Good evening, sir. Welcome to Lumiere, she chirped, all polish and poise. Nicholas nodded, ever polite. Thank you. My wife's already here, I believe. Jessica Morrison. Vanessa's face went white as a sheet. Your wife is here? She stammered, her voice cracking. Was she serious? Yes. She texted me she arrived early. Vanessa's eyes darted frantically around the restaurant, landing on Jessica at her sad little corner table. Of course, Mr. Morrison. Right this way, she squeaked, leading him forward. As Nicholas strode through the restaurant, heads turned left and right. Several diners nodded, recognizing him instantly. Nicholas Morrison wasn't just rich, he was a legend in San Francisco's financial scene. Admired for his integrity and generosity as much as his wealth, Jessica watched him approach, her heart warming. And oh, how the staff scattered like frightened sparrows. Their faces? Priceless. You'd think they'd seen a ghost, not the man whose wife they'd spent 2 hours mocking. If only they'd known. When Nicholas's eyes found Jessica, his whole face lit up. There's my girl. he said, his voice brimming with warmth as he bent to kiss her cheek before sliding into the seat across from her. Sorry if I'm a minute late. Love, traffic was a nightmare. You're right on time, Jessica replied, her smile soft, but knowing. I've been entertained. Nicholas's brow quirked, catching the edge in her tone. What had happened? Before he could ask, Edward, the manager, swooped in, wringing his hands like he was auditioning for a nervous breakdown. Mr. Cole Morrison, welcome to Lumiere. I'm Edward Winters, General Manager. We're beyond honored to have you with us tonight. Thank you, Nicholas said, his focus still on Jessica. I hope my wife hasn't been waiting too long. Edward gulped, his face paling. Mrs. Morrison arrived a bit early, but I assure you, we've taken excellent care of her. Oh, really? Jessica met Edward's pleading gaze with calm resolve. She could have spilled every cruel detail of their treatment, but silence felt sharper. The view from this table has been educational, she said, her words deliberate. Nicholas glanced around, his eyes narrowing as he realized they were stuck at the worst table in the house, shoved by the clattering kitchen doors. A dangerous glint flickered in his gaze. Those who knew him recognized trouble brewing. Why were they seated here? I requested our usual window table, he said, his voice even but laced with steel. Edward blanched. A misunderstanding, sir. Please, let me move you immediately. No need, Nicholas replied coolly. My wife seems comfortable here. Jessica saw panic flare in Edward's eyes. By now, Marcus, Claire, and Darius had huddled at the service station, watching the scene unfold with sheer terror. Perhaps you could send over the staff who've been serving my wife while she waited, Nicholas suggested, his tone polite but unyielding. Oh, this was going to be good. Edward hesitated, then nodded. Of course, sir. As he scurried off, Nicholas reached across the table, taking Jessica's hand. What happened, Jess? He asked softly, his eyes searching hers. Let's just say I got a reminder of how shallow some folks can be, she said, a wry smile tugging at her lips. But Mrs. Abernathy was here. She recognized me. Nicholas's face softened into a grin. Elaine Abernathy always had a sharp eye. Edward returned, trailing Marcus, Claire, and Darius, who looked like they were marching to their doom. These are your servers for the evening, Edward announced, his voice pitching high with nerves. Nicholas studied each one, reading their name tags. Marcus, Claire, Darius, thank you for looking after my wife. Was she well taken care of? His question hung heavy in the air. The three exchanged panicked glances, their bravado gone. Marcus stepped forward, clearing his throat. Mr. Morrison, there may have been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. Jessica cut in gently, her voice steady. They've been very revealing. Nicholas's expression hardened, the pieces clicking into place. I see, he said, his tone chilling. Claire, her earlier smugness vanished, stepped up, practically trembling. Mrs. Morrison, please accept our sincere apologies for any misunderstanding. Her voice wavered, desperate. What exactly are you apologizing for, Claire? Nicholas asked, his voice soft but razor sharp. Claire froze, caught between confessing their cruelty and pretending nothing happened. Maybe for suggesting I check my coat to upgrade my appearance, Jessica offered calmly. Or for calling me a gold digger who got lucky? Ouch. Darius looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him. Sir, we never meant. I believe you did, Nicholas interrupted, his voice firm. My wife endured 2 hours of your subtle and not so subtle humiliation, all because she doesn't fit your narrow idea of wealth. Edward was sweating buckets now. Morrison, I swear, this isn't how we train our staff. There will be serious consequences. Yes, there will, Nicholas agreed, his eyes glinting. Starting with this. He pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and turned the screen to Edward. An email confirmation glowed, revealing that Nicholas's investment firm had just bought a controlling stake in the Lumiere chain. I planned to announce this next week, but now feels right. As of this afternoon, I own 60% of this restaurant, every location. Boom! The silence was deafening. Every staff member froze. The weight of Nicholas's words crashing down. They hadn't just insulted a rich man's wife, they'd mocked the wife of their new boss. Now, Nicholas said, pocketing his phone, we're here to celebrate our anniversary. He turned to Jessica, his smile warm and genuine. What do you want to do, my love? Stay or go? Every eye in the restaurant locked on Jessica. She could have demanded firings, stormed out, or called for heads to roll. Instead, she smiled, serene and unshaken. Let's stay. I'm curious to see what they can do when they stop judging a book by its cover. What a power move. The rest of the night was like a lesson in humility. Edward hovered, personally overseeing every detail, while Marcus, Claire, and Darius served with jittery precision, their earlier mockery replaced by nervous deference. Word spread like wildfire through the restaurant, whispers about the denim-jacketed woman who was the wife of their new owner buzzed from table to table. Nicholas insisted they stay at their original table by the kitchen, a silent rebuke of the staff's earlier snobbery. How's that for making a point? As they savored their meal, Jessica watched the transformation around them with quiet amusement. You could have called me, Nicholas said, slicing his steak. One word, and I'd have been here in a heartbeat. Jessica shook her head, her eyes twinkling. I didn't want to interrupt your meeting. Besides, it was enlightening. They were cruel to you, he said, his voice tight with protectiveness. They were cruel to a woman in a denim jacket. She corrected gently. It wasn't personal, just about what they thought I was. Nicholas gazed at her, admiration shining in his eyes. Most people would have had them all fired on the spot. What good would that do? Jessica asked. Sipping her wine, they'd just take their biases somewhere else. This way, maybe they'll actually learn something. Could she be any wiser? As they finished their dessert, Edward approached again, his attitude completely humbled. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison, on behalf of the entire staff, I offer our deepest apologies for the inexcusable treatment Mrs. Morrison received tonight. Jessica noted how he dodged specifics, still trying to save face. Really, Edward? We'll pay our bill in full, Nicholas cut in. This isn't about money. Edward blinked, caught off guard, but nodded quickly. Of course, sir. And rest assured, disciplinary action will begin immediately. Jessica looked up, her voice calm but firm. Instead of punishment, maybe try education. Not everyone knows how to spot true worth right away. Edward stared, stunned by her grace. Yes, Mrs. Morrison. That's very generous. As they got ready to leave, Nicholas covered Jessica's hand with his "Happy anniversary, my love." Jessica's heart fluttered, and she reached into her pocket. I almost forgot in all the drama. She handed him a small gift box. Happy anniversary. Nicholas opened it, revealing a vintage watch engraved with the coordinates of the children's publishing house where they'd met. His eyes softened, emotion thickening his voice. It's perfect, he murmured. Just like you. Could they be any sweeter? As they headed for the exit, the staff lined up to bid them farewell. Marcus, Claire, and Darius stood among them, their faces a mix of shame and fear. Jessica paused, her voice soft but clear. I hope you'll remember wealth doesn't always come in designer packages. And kindness? It's free, but it means everything. Mic drop. Outside, waiting for the valet, Nicholas wrapped an arm around Jessica's shoulders. "You okay, love?" he asked, concern in his eyes. Jessica leaned into him, the glittering San Francisco skyline sparkling before them. "I'm fine, better than fine. It's good to be reminded who you are and what really matters. And what matters to you, Jessica Morrison," he teased, though he knew her heart. She grinned, adjusting her denim jacket. Authenticity, kindness, and you always you. How perfect was that? Their car pulled up, and as they drove away from Lumiere, Jessica knew the staff wouldn't roll out the red carpet for their return, but they'd left behind something far more valuable than any tip a lesson in true worth, one that no amount of money could buy. Real class? It's not about clothes. Sometimes, the best lessons come from the most unexpected moments. Jessica walked into that restaurant as her authentic, unpretentious self, and left the same way, despite the humiliation she faced. Her story? It's a reminder that dignity isn't in labels or status. It's in staying true to who you are, no matter who tries to tear you down. Isn't that the kind of strength we all need?